From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
The final test results came back, and the impossible was there in black and white. My kidney was a perfect match for my dying sister, yet our DNA showed we could not be related. The sterile hospital air suddenly carried the faint, metallic scent of ozone, like the moment before a lightning strike. My surgeon's hands, moments before steady, now felt damp and cold against the chart he held. From the quiet hallway outside the consultation room, I heard it, a soft, rhythmic scratching, like nails on drywall. A primal dread took hold, freezing the question in my throat. If she wasn't my sister, who had we been living with all these years? The miracle that was supposed to save her life had instead torn a hole in the very fabric of our reality. And in that silence, heavier than any sound, I knew our family was already gone. A lie was encoded in our very blood. My parents swore ignorance, but the proof pulsed within us both. It meant one terrifying truth. The sister I'd loved my entire life was a stranger. My name is Sarah. This is my sister, Chloe. We grew up in a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio. The air there always carried the scent of cut grass and distant rain, and my real family was out there somewhere, living a life that should have been mine. Picture perfect on the surface. Dad, Mike, the high school football coach. Mom, Linda, the relentless PTA president. And then there was us, Chloe, vibrant and artistic, painting the world in colors I never saw. Me, the pragmatic older sister by 2 years, always trying to keep us grounded. We fought over clothes and the remote, the sticky sweet smell of summer barbecues hanging in the air. But beneath those ordinary clashes, we were bound by something deeper. She was my maid of honor, my sister in all but blood. I was always her first call when her world fell apart. That bond felt unbreakable, forged through every joy and heartache, until the day Chloe got sick, and everything we knew began to rot from within. It began with a deep, unshakable fatigue that settled into his bones. Then came the jaundice, a sickly yellow hue staining his skin like a slow poison. End-stage renal failure followed, a silent thief stealing his body's last defenses. The waiting list for a kidney stretched for years, each day a countdown in the stale, antiseptic air. She didn't have years left. I got tested without hesitation. Of course I was a match. We were sisters. The air carried the faint metallic scent of the clinic, a cold dread settling in my bones. The sterile air in the office felt suddenly thick, carrying the faint scent of antiseptic and something metallic underneath. The doctor's voice dropped to a low, measured tone, the words hanging in the charged quiet between them. Sarah, you're a compatible donor. It's a remarkably strong match. A beat of profound silence followed, broken only by the distant, rhythmic hum of medical equipment from the hallway. Sarah let out a shaky, relieved breath that was almost a laugh, the sound too loud in the hushed room. She turned to her sister, a fragile smile touching her lips. See, Chloe? She whispered, her voice catching slightly. Told you, let's schedule it. The doctor hesitated, his voice dropping to a clinical whisper. There's just one anomaly we need to double check. Your blood work. It's probably a lab error. It wasn't a lab error. They tested repeatedly, each confirmation more chilling than the last. The results defied every biological law they knew. An impossibility had materialized before their eyes. A metallic scent, like ozone and old blood, clung to the sterile air. Their reality had fractured. What they'd discovered shouldn't exist. Chloe was type AB. I was type O. Our parents, both type A. You can't get an AB child from two A parents. The sterile scent of the lab report filled my nostrils as I stared at the impossibility. My fingers grew cold and numb against the paper, the truth settling like a physical weight. Somewhere in the house, a floorboard groaned under a pressure that wasn't mine. And you definitely can't get a perfect tissue match for an organ transplant from a sibling with completely incompatible blood. In the hospital room at night, Sarah sits facing her parents, Linda and Mike, the air thick with ozone and antiseptic. Mike's face has gone pale, his knuckles white where they grip the chair. His voice comes out barely a whisper, carrying a weight that makes the room feel colder. They're saying it's wrong. The results came back, but they can't be right. Linda's voice cracked, thick with tears and defensiveness. What are you saying? That she isn't ours? The air in the room grew thick with the scent of ozone and cold dread. Look at her, she pleaded, the words hanging in the stagnant silence. She has your mother's nose, Mike. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper, heavy with unspoken dread. They ran the tests 3 times, Mom. They're doing a genetic panel now, not just for the transplant. The genetic panel was the detonator, a cold, clinical confirmation that shattered our shared history. It confirmed we were not biological sisters, not even distantly related. A metallic scent, like ozone after lightning, filled the air where our past had been. Every memory, every whispered secret, now felt like a borrowed story, its pages turning to dust. No genetic link existed between them. The hospital initiated a quiet, terrifying inquiry. 2 infant girls, delivered on the same day, in the same small Ohio clinic, over 3 decades past. One was called Sarah. The hospital administrator's voice dropped to a grave, clinical whisper. The air in the sterile office grew thick and metallic, like ozone before a storm. Every instinct screamed to deny the words, but the genetic counselor's solemn nod confirmed them. A primal dread took hold as the final, impossible truth settled between them. The identification bands had been misapplied at the hospital. You, Sarah, were actually born to a woman named Eleanor and a man named David. They named you Rebecca. They took home Chloe. The world telescoped into a suffocating reality. My name was Rebecca, but my real parents, Eleanor and David, lived just 40 miles away. They had raised a girl they believed was me, a woman they called Rebecca. She was actually Chloe's biological sister. The family portrait had shattered, then reformed into a monstrous, impossible collage. 1 week later, in the frigid air of a meeting room, two couples faced each other with two daughters. Sarah's biological parents, Eleanor and David, were there with Rebecca, Chloe's biological sister, whose resemblance to Sarah was uncanny. Eleanor stared, her hand pressed to her mouth as if stifling a gasp. A sharp scent of ozone and old paper hung in the heavy silence between them. David's breath caught. Your eyes. She has your eyes. Rebecca's voice cut through the damp air like winter glass. So you're the one. Her words held a cold, metallic anger. You got the life, the big house, the college fund. Each syllable landed like a stone in still water. Chloe's voice was a ragged whisper, her words laced with the metallic tang of desperation. Linda's question hung in the air, thick with the scent of ozone and betrayal. Her voice broke like brittle glass against the oppressive quiet. Eleanor's reply was a low, furious vibration that seemed to still the very air. My daughter Rebecca was diagnosed with a genetic heart condition at 15, a condition that runs in your family, according to the records. We spent years terrified, treating a disease she was never at risk for. While you had my biological child, and you didn't even know her real medical history. The lie wasn't just a secret. It was a living, breathing entity that had molded every life in that room. My protectiveness toward Chloe, was it sisterly devotion? Or a primal, biological pull toward my only genetic relative in that house? The air grew heavy with the scent of old secrets and ozone, as if a storm had passed through and left only its charge behind. My father's quiet distance. Was he sensing a stranger in his own home? A presence woven into the very fabric of our lives? The kidney that saved Chloe's life was supposed to be the ultimate proof of a bond we never knew we had. Instead, it dissolved the one we thought we did. The transplant was a clinical success, but the cost was something far more personal. Now, in her sparse apartment, Sarah sits alone, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and old regret. Her gaze shifts between two photos, one of her and Chloe as laughing children, the other a recent, painfully awkward coffee meeting with Rebecca. Chloe is healthy, but nothing else is. Mom and Dad, Mike and Linda, look at me with a guilt so heavy, it's like a wall. They love me, but they also grieve for the daughter they never brought home. I sit down for dinner with Eleanor and David, my biological parents. Their kindness is palpable, yet they remain strangers, quietly grieving the 3 decades stolen from us. The air in the room feels heavy with their unspoken loss, a tangible weight pressing down on the quiet clink of cutlery. I saved my sister, but a cold, creeping dread now coils in my stomach with a single, unanswerable question. Which one is she? Is Chloe my sister? We share no blood, but we share every memory. Is Rebecca my sister? We share genetics, a nose, a predisposition for migraines. The air between us is thick with the metallic scent of old resentment, a cold, sticky presence in the room, and a bottomless well of it, whispering from a place deeper than any shared bloodline could ever reach. The paperwork error, buried 3 decades ago, didn't just switch 2 infants in the maternity ward, it swapped 2 destinies entirely, granting one family a phantom health scare while planting a fatal time bomb in another. The air in the room grows thick with the scent of old paper and something metallic, like dried blood on forgotten files. And it made a hero of a donor who, by the cold truth of biology, was always a stranger. Sarah's final whisper hangs in the heavy air, a question that echoes in the silence. The scent of ozone and old copper fills the space, a metallic tang that promises revelation. Who are you, really? She asks, her voice barely a thread of sound against the oppressive quiet. Are you the story you've been told? Or just a blood type waiting to be discovered? On the left, the original family photo shows Sarah and Chloe smiling together. On the right, a reconstructed photo places Sarah next to Eleanor and David, with Chloe beside Linda and Mike. The 2 conflicting versions of reality then fade into darkness.
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.